Oh God, that started fake and then turned real. Hi, honey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Just, been fighting with people on Twitter since Facebook's down. I don't go on Facebook really all that much anyway.
Right,
so.
like Facebook being down doesn't really impact me other than I can't terrorize people in our neighborhood through our neighborhood Facebook group.
Yeah, I know. Well, you ready to learn about the Bible today?
Yes.
We got a lot of shit going down in the Bible.
Do we?
Yes, we do. If you guys don't remember, last time God used Israel as a good example of reasons why you shouldn't fuck with him. And, the reasons are many as to why you shouldn't fuck with him, but mainly how he did the Jews dirty. This time we're sticking with Eze's narrative, and Easy is going to start this whole thing by bitching about Egypt.
Typical.
Yep. He says that the Pharaoh in Egypt is a monster, like Frankenstein. Somebody sewed together a bunch of dead parts and put them back together like fucking raw. Well, yeah, like, I think it's raw. No, Osiris. Sorry, I got my gods wrong. Osiris. Osiris is the one that got sewed back. God is going to catch the Pharaoh in a net, and then he's going to cast him out and let birds eat his asshole raw. And then he's going to flay the skin off of him, tan them on the countryside, and use them for, those little sandal things that they wear.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any of this in what we talked about.
That's what God's going to do to him.
Okay.
Flay his skin off and wear him as sandals. God's a savage.
I mean, it's another way to look at walking all over people.
Yeah. With people.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least parts of people. Anyways, God is going to get a bit more specific in his threats, though, because what he's going to do is he's going to have the sword of Babylon come alive and just fucking destroy Egypt. Giant sword walking around Egypt. You didn't hear about that in the, history book? Okay. Well, that happens in the Bible. God ends up blowing his load a little too late on this particular thing. Yeah, no. I hate that. Anyways,
guess it's better than early.
Yeah, later's better than not at all, I guess. God has a serious problem with uncircumcised dicks. Like, he just really doesn't.
That is true.
He hates them. But anyways, God says that the Israelites should be watchmen. But the real question is, who watches the watchman? God. God watches the watchman, and he fucks them up too. If they attempt to, or if they hear a trumpet, if they hear a trumpet and they attempt to prevent whatever's going to happen, and they die, they deserved it. And if they do hear, I was really confused on this part. This really seems elaborate, kind of rules here, but I think if they don't hear the trumpet, or if they do hear the trumpet and they don't stop it, then they will still die, but it's going to be their own, it'll be the watchman's fault or something. I'm not sure. Maybe you can explain it a little bit better. But after all this, God really wants us to know that he hates punishing the Jews. And he'd really rather they just follow what in the fuck he says. And, after this past weekend, I can kind of feel God on this one a little bit. Because, I just really want Xander to just take a fucking shower. Just do what I say. Stop asking questions. Just do it. Then God or Ezekiel, one of them, I'm not sure, he emphasizes about how repentance works. And how if you're a good person and you do bad shit, then it really doesn't matter how good you are of a person, you're still going to burn in hell forever. And so all the good shit doesn't matter. But if you're a bad person and you do some good shit, then, that means that you're golden and you can get into heaven. So, God is really creating this atmosphere up there in heaven of, you know, you can do all the bad shit you want to and then just do something good at the end of your life and you're fine. God, oh yeah, sorry. I had an extra note here, but I already covered it. So that's pretty much it for today. Bad people are in heaven just because they did one good thing. They helped Granny cross the road and now they're fine.
And good people
burn in hell forever.
because they did one bad.
Mm-hmm.
It seems legit.
Burning in a lake of fire. Down, down, down.
And the flames get.
Yep, they do get higher when God tortures your body. Mm-hmm. What's up, heathens?
How y'all doing?
So I know I already asked you how you're doing. I don't know why I'm trying to ask you a second time.
Because you're that concerned about well-being.
I am. I'm genuinely concerned about it.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, you know, obviously I got things wrong at the beginning. I know definitely that whole, you know, hearing a trumpet and you do something and you're going to die with a stick up your ass or something. I'm not sure how that works out, but I'm sure you'll explain it.
Yeah. We'll go over it.
Okay.
Today we're going to be doing Ezekiel 32 and 33. So, more prophecy.
Yay.
Woot woot. And we know Ezekiel's a real prophet.
Yeah, he's the kind of prophet that light shines out of his ass, apparently.
No, we know Ezekiel's a real prophet because the Bible says.
Oh, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
See, still, I think that we should only consider prophets to be real if they're shining light out of every orifice.
I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking a lot about Egypt, a lot about uncircumcised penises for some reason. So let's just jump right into it, okay?
I can just see everybody blaming me because, like, GE always loves to talk about dick. Dick, 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 dick. And it's like, no, it's God this time. He's the one doing it.
Legit, this time it's like uncircumcised. Like he mentions it so many times, it's actually borderline absurd.
Okay.
So we'll get there, but yes, God is very concerned about the condition of all of their penises. This is apparently how we determine whether someone is good or bad. Women don't have penises, so the circumcised thing generally is not a way that God can judge us, but it's okay. We have a different measure for women, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all evil.
Every one of us.
Yeah, so there's really no distinguishing between, like they do with men, between circumcised and uncircumcised, because we're just all evil. So, pro tip, how to distinguish good from bad women. There are no good ones, according to the Bible. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to like place this in time, we're at about 585-ish BCE.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's going to be important in this lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to mention something that will make that relevant, but because he mentions here, like we start off in the 12th year, in the 12th month on the first day, the word of the Lord came to me. So the 12th year in the 12th month on the first day is 585 BCE. Whereabouts. So, you know, that's how we keep time here. Okay. Son of man, take up a lament concerning Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, you are like a lion among the nations. That sounds like a compliment, right?
I feel like it.
You are like a monster in the seas. Well, maybe not so much. I mean, I don't know if I would want to be called Ursula. Would you?
I mean, not particularly, no.
She's kind of horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Thrashing about in your streams, churning the water with your feet and muddying the streams. That's just a dick move.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Total dick move right there.
This is what the sovereign Lord says, with a great throng of people, not thong, throng. Mm-hmm.
Gotta love those throngs.
I will cast my net over you, and they will haul you up in my net. I will throw you on the land and hurl you on the open. I will let all the birds of the sky settle on you, and all the animals of the wild gorge themselves on you.
Yeah, on their asshole.
It doesn't say that. It just says the birds will sit on you and the other animals are going to eat you. I will spread your flesh on the mountains and fill the valleys with your remains. I will drench the land with your flowing blood all the way to the mountains, and the ravines will be filled with your flesh.
What the fuck is up with God and blood? Like, we joke about him being a blood god, but I mean, this is like ridiculous. I feel like anybody with an obsession with blood would be like, you know what? This is a little much for me.
This is kind of gross. Yeah. So, I mean, you weren't wrong when you're like, he's going to flay the people, because that's what he says he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I snuff you out, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. We know the moon doesn't give light anyway.
It reflects it, bitch.
Also, when you have this kind of seems, so it says, all the shining lights in the heavens, I will darken over you. I will bring darkness over your land. So this kind of seems like an eclipse, like kind of what he's talking about. But really an eclipse doesn't do the things he's saying.
Right.
Right. But that sounds like what he's kind of talking about.
Does it say how long the eclipse is for?
No.
Okay.
He just says, when I snuff you out, I will cover. So basically, when he destroys all of the Egyptians, there will be an eclipse.
I don't think he's going to destroy all the Egyptians, though. Something tells me those motherfuckers are still around.
I mean,
possibly the country that exists right now is a good indication.
Yeah. So anyway, he says, I will trouble the hearts of many peoples when I bring about your destruction among the nations. I mean, I would be troubled if I witnessed flesh spread over the mountains and filled in the valleys filling with remains, the land flowing with blood, and ravines filled with flesh. I mean, that would be disturbing.
Yeah, can you imagine that sight? It's like you walk outside your Egyptian house and you just see like skin covering the hillsides and like blood flowing in between the hills and everything. I'd be
troubled.
And you're just sitting there drinking your wine. It's like, must be thirsty.
Yeah, so he's going to trouble the hearts of many peoples, and it says, when I bring about the destruction among the nations, among land you have not known. Now, this section, among, they're referring to, in the Septuagint, where they bring them into captivity among the nations.
Okay.
So they're talking about the Egyptians going into captivity, but he also says he's going to kill all of them. So that's a little contradictory, I guess. I will cause many people to be appalled at you, and their kings will shudder with horror because of you. When I brandish my sword before them, on the day of your downfall, each of them will tremble every moment for his life. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. The sword of the king of Babylon will come against you. I will cause your hordes to fall. Hordes?
Hordes.
Yeah. By the swords of mighty men, the most ruthless of all nations. They will shatter the pride of Egypt, and all her hordes will be overthrown. I will destroy her cattle from beside abundant waters, no longer to be stirred by the foot of man or muddied by the hooves of cattle. Then I will let her waters settle and make her streams flow like oil, declares the sovereign Lord. When I make Egypt desolate and strip the land of everything in it, when I strike down all who live there, then they will know that I am Lord. They won't, because they'll be dead.
Right.
Okay. This is the lament they will chant for her. The daughters of the nations will chant it for Egypt, and all her hordes they will chant it, declares the sovereign Lord.
So, like, I could just see God standing amongst all of the dead, and he's like, yeah, now you know I'm God. What the fuck, God? No, they don't. They don't think anything right now.
Because they dead. You fucking killed them.
Dumb bitch.
Anyways, so he basically says the sword of the king of Babylon is who is going to perpetrate this from a human perspective. Like, he's going to put everything into motion, right? But the actual shit that's going to happen on land is from the sword of the king of Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
So while in history there is a battle where Babylon does a lot of damage to Egypt, not this kind of damage, and there's not like it's not like this describes specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of Carchemish, where Babylon, led by Nebuchadnezzar II, basically really fucks up Egypt and overthrows Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that did happen, but this is where it's relevant, the timeline here, because that happened in 605 BCE, which the way that time works is before this prophecy ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't happen after the prophecy. Okay?
Okay.
Now, Jeremiah and Ezekiel both predict that Babylon, I think in Jeremiah it's more specific that Nebuchadnezzar will do it. And in Ezekiel, it's that Babylon, the king of Babylon, which in this time is Nebuchadnezzar, but that Babylon will do this to Egypt. So Jeremiah and Ezekiel both say this. Jeremiah and Ezekiel are both considered true prophets. They're not false prophets. They are true prophets of God. And according to Deuteronomy 18:22, true prophets are never wrong.
They're never wrong, yet he's...
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. I love the internal inconsistency.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how the apologetic for that particular thing would work out, but Egypt is still a thing. So are you ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
All right. In the 12th year, on the 15th day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, wail for the hordes of Egypt and consign the earth below, both her and the daughters of mighty nations, along with those who go down to the pit. Say to them, are you more favored than others? Go down and be laid among the uncircumcised. They will fall among those killed by the sword. The sword is drawn, let her be dragged off with all her hordes. For within the realm of the dead, the mighty leaders will say of Egypt and her allies, they have come down and they lie with the uncircumcised, those killed by the sword. So now, like, they're describing the realm of the dead, and the Egyptians are going to go down to the realm of the dead with all uncircumcised people.
Yeah, because fuck them. Also, this just goes to show that the realm of the dead is like a physical place.
Yeah.
To the Jews and Jewish theology, it's very much a physical place.
Which is weird that it's a physical place because their bodies are strewn all over the mountains. So.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that, but
anyway. Also, Assyria is there in the realm of the dead with her whole army. She is surrounded by the graves of all her slain, all who have fallen by the sword. Their graves are in the depths of the pit, and her army lies around her grave. All who had spread terror in the land of the living are slain, fallen by the sword. Elam is there with all of her hordes around her grave. All of them are slain, fallen by the sword. All who had spread terror in the land of the living went down uncircumcised to the earth below. They bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. A bed is made for her among the slain, with all her hordes around her grave, all of them uncircumcised, killed by the sword. Because their terror had spread in the land of the living, they bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. They are laid among the slain. It seems like I'm reading the same thing over and over. I'm not.
Yeah, I know.
We're not.
Also, it seems like there's a lot of checking out people in this.
We're not even done. Meshech and Tubal are also there with their hordes around their graves. All of them are uncircumcised, killed by the sword because they spread terror in the land of the living. But they do not lie with the fallen warriors of old, who went down to the realm of the dead with their weapons of war, their swords placed under their heads and their shields resting on their bones, though these warriors had also terrorized the land of the living. Now, the fallen warriors of old, this is in the original Hebrew in the Septuagint, they're talking about warriors who were uncircumcised. Mm-hmm. So the warriors of old, which I think they're referring to maybe Jews before they had that rule.
I don't. Maybe. I mean, the whole circumcision thing came pretty early. I believe it was Abraham that cut it first.
I mean, it did come early, but it says the fallen warriors. It only refers to this group of people as warriors of old. And they are actually respected. Their swords were placed under their heads and their shields resting on their bones. Oh, okay. So it talks as if these are respected, though they were uncircumcised and they terrorized the land of the living. Like these were different. And the other people that are uncircumcised and terrorize the land, they aren't. The same doesn't happen for them.
Interesting.
And they don't lie together. But those people are also in the realm of the dead.
Of course they are.
Mm-hmm. You too, Pharaoh, will be broken and will lie among the uncircumcised with those killed by the sword. Edom is also there. Elam, E-L-A-M, is there.
Right.
And Edom, E-D-O-M, is there. Her kings and all her princes, despite their power, they are laid with those who killed by the sword. They lie with the uncircumcised, with those who go down to the pit. All the princes of the north and all the Sidonians are there. They went down with the slain in disgrace despite the terror caused by their power. They lie uncircumcised with those killed by the sword and bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. Pharaoh, he and all his army, will see them, and he will be consoled for all his hordes that were killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord. Although I had him spread terror in the land of the living, he admits it, although I had him spread terror in the land of the living, Pharaoh and all his hordes will be laid among the uncircumcised with those killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord.
Damn.
And now I've said uncircumcised more times than I have in my entire life in the past 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that the Bible put you through that. But I mean, also, like, I just get this image in my head of God being like, yep, they're all uncircumcised, and like having to, like, before ushering them into the realm of the dead, like, yep, none of them are circumcised. There you go. I mean, I think the Jewish religion was the only one cutting dicks at the time, so I think it's probably safe to just assume, but
everyone that wasn't Jewish was uncircumcised.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's no point in circumcision.
Yeah. Yay, we do bodily mutilation. Anyway, one of the apologetics that I have heard in relation to uncircumcised when they're referencing it like they are here, is not just in regards to like genital circumcision, right? But the metaphorical circumcision of the heart.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if in this, my guess is they're referring to circumcision.
Oh, they're definitely talking about uncut dicks.
Yeah, I think they're definitely talking about that. But I have heard apologists, sorry.
There you go.
I'll get there. I have heard apologists talk about circumcision in relation to their hearts.
Well, I think that's more like New Testament, New Testament-y, and not really Old Testament, because Old Testament's definitely got the controversy surrounding whether or not you should still cut your dicks only comes up in the New Testament when they start discussing that, and I think the metaphorical circumcision starts being used there. So,
I think that's interesting because one of the reasons that Christianity was even formed amongst the Jewish people
is a need to cut each other's dicks. Sorry.
was the desire to, it wasn't even the desire for the Messiah to come. It was just the desire to live in a more progressive way and not have to follow all of these like antiquated and archaic rules that the Jews were having to follow.
Right.
And so when the Messiah comes, you don't have to do those things. And according to the scriptures, right? Those are days of old. They were looking for the new time. They were looking for a more progressive way to live.
Yeah, where they didn't have to mutilate cattle and also cut their dicks.
I mean, that's what they were looking for. And so that's one of the reasons why Christianity was formed, is to have a different way of moving forward.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, speaking of the cutting dicks thing, the whole circumcision thing in Christianity wasn't really all that, like, it wasn't heavily practiced at all prior to sometime in the early 20th century, when they had this, I guess, sort of like this idea that circumcising your children would prevent them from masturbating.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became like a common Christian thing to do, to circumcise your kids. And so, like, I mean, I never knew that. Like, I thought that circumcision was, pretty important to Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the whole circumcision thing, right from the very beginning of Christianity, of the Christian cult, was heavily debated and not really employed, like, up until
significantly later.
Yeah, significantly, quite recently, and relatively recently. So it's kind of weird that Christians sort of backslid into the whole, hey, we should start cutting our dicks again.
Is it though? I mean, if you look at Christian, not just Christians overall, but like the fundamentalists and the evangelicals, like the really hardcore Christian conservatives, if you look at them, is that really that hard to imagine? Regression?
I guess not. I could see them getting drunk and be like, you know what? We should start cutting our dicks again. This is kind of getting old, not cutting our dicks.
Well, I mean, if they read, I mean, if they were serious fundamentalists and reading the Old Testament, and because the Old Testament scripture is important to Christians, despite the fact that when it's convenient, apologists, especially now, completely dismiss the Old Testament as being relevant because they're Christ followers, right? Mm-hmm. But when it is convenient, like they don't like the gays, they pull the Old Testament straight out their ass, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think if you're a fundamentalist and you're reading the Old Testament, you can clearly see how important circumcision is to God.
Oh yeah, he definitely wants your dick to get cut.
And like everyone who's uncircumcised goes straight to hell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see how a fundamentalist group could be like, well, this is what we have to do now. And then it spreads like wild. You know what I mean? It spreads. That idea spreads.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I can see how it could shift.
I can too. Definitely.
Okay. So that's Ezekiel 32. We're done with circumcision for today, I'm pretty sure. You want to move on to Ezekiel 33 and the idea of the watchman?
You know I do.
All right. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, speak to your people and say to them, when I bring the sword against a land, and the people of the land choose one of their men and make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming against the land and blows the trumpet to warn people, then if anyone hears the trumpet but does not heed the warning, and the sword comes and takes their life, their blood will be on their own head. Since they heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not heed the warning, their blood will be on their own head. So apparently every group has to assign a watchman, somebody to be like, hey, you're fucking up.
Yeah, you didn't cut your dick.
You're doing something wrong. All right. So the watchman has to basically blow the trumpet. Basically, they just have to tell people. It's the watchman's job to tell people that they're doing wrong.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's interesting because it seems to me that, especially with fundamentalist and evangelical Christians, they have all self-appointed, they are all self-appointed watchmen. Because I don't know if you've ever been part of or seen or been to one of the more fundamentalist evangelical type of Christian Protestant churches, but they all up in everybody's business all the time. But it's interesting, especially in the South, what they do instead of telling the person that they're doing something wrong, they just gossip about it to everybody else. They're like, did you see what this bitch did? Except they wouldn't say bitch, because then the other lady would be like, oh my, did you hear the language that so-and-so's wife used at church? Like
they're going to hell.
They're super passive aggressive and gossipy. But anyways, so the watchman has to warn the people, right? And if the people hear the trumpet and they don't change their ways, then it's their fault. Their blood is on their own on their own head.
Right. Okay? Their own head. Got it.
If they heeded the warning, they would have saved themselves. So they're doing wrong. The watchman says, hey, you're fucking up. And then they say, oh, okay, I'm going to do better. And then they do. If they heed the warning and they change their ways, then they're going to be fine.
Okay.
Which is really interesting because it's not what he said before. He destroyed everybody. But okay. Now, if the watchman sees the sword coming, but does not blow the trumpet to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin, but the watchman is held accountable for their blood.
Okay.
Okay. So if the watchman decides to neglect his duties and not tell somebody that they're fucking up, then while that other person's life will still be taken because they sinned, even though they maybe didn't know they were sinning.
Right.
It's not their fault, even though they face the consequence of death for it.
Right.
It's their blood is on the watchman's head. Okay.
Okay.
So, son of man, now God's talking to Ezekiel. I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak and give them a warning from me. When I say to the wicked, you wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not speak out to dissuade them from their ways, that wicked person will die for their sin. And I will hold you accountable for their blood. But if you do warn the wicked person to turn from their ways and they do not do so, they will die for their sin, though you yourself will be saved. So he's appointing Ezekiel the watchman.
Oh, okay. And if I'm correct, if they hear the warning and don't warn people, then it's their fault.
Ezekiel. If Ezekiel hears the warning, the watchman.
Right.
If Ezekiel, the watchman, hears the warning and doesn't warn people,
it's going to be his fault.
Yeah. They're still going to die, but it's going to be his fault.
Okay.
Yes. He will not be saved, but he is. So in order for him to be saved, he has to warn the people.
Is there a specific melody that God's going to play on the trumpet?
I'm not sure. I don't. It doesn't say. I'm sure you can come up with something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Baby Shark. Or maybe it's what's that song on TikTok that's going around? Oh, I can be brown, I can be blue. I think it's probably that.
Yeah. I could see somebody on a trumpet playing
that. Okay, let's continue. Son of man, say to the Israelites, this is what you are saying. Our offenses and sins weigh us down, and we are wasting away because of them. How then can we live? Say to them, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn from their ways and live. Turn from your evil ways. Why will you die, people of Israel? Because you're killing them, God. But this basically is like, I don't like punishing you, which is what John was saying earlier about, I literally used this weekend. In parenting, I used this. Not the Bible verse, but I was like, hey, we don't want to take your shit away. But, there are consequences for your behavior. And if you do things you are not allowed to do, these are the consequences. I'm not looking to take your stuff. And my preference is you just do whatever the fuck you're supposed to do. So I don't have to take your shit.
Yeah. And that's essentially what God's saying here.
Yeah, pretty much. This is actually a pretty good lesson.
So would you just do what the fuck I asked, please? I don't want to hear lip from you or anything.
No attitude.
Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
I didn't curse at Xander.
Yeah, no, me either. Not in my head. Those words were there. Along with several others that I did not say. Sometimes parenting can be very interesting. Okay. Yep. So God doesn't want to punish you. He just wants you to do what he says. And then he won't have to punish you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Therefore, son of men, say to your people, if someone who is righteous disobeys, that person's former righteousness will count for nothing. Okay?
Okay.
Absorb that. If someone who always does good and the right things disobeys one time, everything they did for the rest of their entire life is completely worthless and means nothing.
Okay.
Okay? If so, which kind of negates the whole 3 strikes and you're out thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they need to change the rules of baseball to this. If someone who is wicked repents, that person's former wickedness will not bring condemnation. So if a shitty ass person, like me and John, it repents one time and we're sorry, we're so sorry, Yahweh God, then everything wicked that we've done in the past fucking disappears. Never happened.
Shit, it's like a magic. What's that thing called? A Mr. Clean magic eraser?
Oh yeah, magic eraser.
Yeah, it fucking erases that shit quick.
Yep. It's like it never happened. The righteous person who sins will not be allowed to live, even though they were formerly righteous. If I tell a righteous person they will surely live, but then they trust in their righteousness and do evil, none of the righteous things that person has done will be remembered, and they will die for the evil they have done.
Cool. Looking at you, preachers.
If I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, but they then turn away from their sin and do what is just and right, if they give back what they took in pledge for a loan, return what they have stolen, follow the decrees that give life, and do no evil, that person will surely live, they will not die. None of the sins that person has committed will be remembered against them, because they have done what is just and right, they will surely live.
Oh. So it kind of seems like you can be a horrible person right up until you die, and then
as long as, like, if you stole something, you have to return it.
Right.
Or, you have to follow the decrees that give life. So, like, you have to, that's one thing that when it comes to Catholicism, people are always like, oh, all you have to do is 10 Hail Marys and then you're forgiven. I mean, I guess you could interpret it that way, but the idea is that you, like this says, follow the decrees that give life. You have to not do it again, whatever you did that was your sinful behavior, right? That caused your need for confession. Mm-hmm. Whatever it was, just, you have to be sorry for it, like legitimately sorry. And you can't be doing it again and then just come back and say you're sorry again. You need to stop doing that bad thing.
Right.
Okay. So that's not exactly what this says, but it does say, give back, return what you've stolen, follow the decrees that give life, and do no evil. So you can't do bad things, then be forgiven, and then do bad things again, but you're fine. You would go back to being, like, if you're forgiven, and then I guess I would assume at that point, once you've been forgiven, once you repent and you're considered a righteous person then, right?
Right.
And then if you do evil then, maybe it's like this crazy fucking, like, I don't know, like a loop-de-loo kind of deal. You are a bad person, you repent, now you're righteous. You're a righteous person. You do something bad, you die for your sin. So I guess, I mean, here's the thing. We all die for sin.
Yeah.
I don't even think it fucking matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter.
Nope.
My personal opinion. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. I mean,
just
follow the laws of the land.
Well, yeah. I mean, stay legal.
For speed limits, you can go 9 over.
9?
Yeah. Not 10. 9.
Okay. I'll keep that.
Not you.
Is like 10 bat out of hell flip the bat out of hell switch? Is that what 10 is?
Well, no. That's not really bat out of hell switch. That's just like cops are less likely to pull you over if you're going under 10 over.
Oh, okay.
They're less likely to pull you over. If you're going 10 or more over, they're more likely to pull you over. So it's just ticket avoidance is all.
Okay.
Please don't take traffic advice from me. Driving advice. Don't do that.
That's what the lawyers are telling us.
Because you're not going to be able to tell the cop that pulls you over, well, Casey said I could go 9 over and it would be fine.
Who's Casey, sir?
That's not going to work for you. So do whatever your conscience tells you. Okay, let's finish it up real quick. Yet your people say the way of the Lord is not just, but it is their way that is not just. If a righteous person turns from their righteousness and does evil, they'll die for it. And if a wicked person turns away from their wickedness and does what is just and right, they will live by doing so. Yet you Israelites say, the way of the Lord is not just, but I will judge each of you according to your own ways. So apparently this whole process of righteous people who sin one time will die because they sinned that one time, and bad people who did bad will live if they do one thing good. That's just because the Bible says so right here in Ezekiel.
Well, because God says through Ezekiel's ass.
I mean, right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's no really explanation of how this is just. Like, it doesn't seem like this is just.
So the explanation that I hear a lot of apologists say is just that, well, God says it, therefore it is.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There's no explanation for why exactly that would be a just way to do things. Because it doesn't seem just. It doesn't seem like let's use Hitler can be responsible for millions of people dying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not even just dying, being literally murdered, right?
Right.
If he were to repent and say he's sorry and do good from like whatever point forward that was, then he's fine and will live essentially, we're talking eternally, right? But if somebody who does good through their whole life, I'm just not coming up with a good example of this, but because humans are humans, right? If somebody spends their whole life doing good things and then makes one mistake, they're not going to heaven because of it. That does not seem just in any reality.
Oh, and also you get so many different people that are saying so many different things that you don't know if you're doing something
accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Even just within Christianity, because you have so many denominations. So it's like there are some denominations where dancing will send you to hell.
Yep. Straight to hell.
I mean, not even dirty dancing, just straight up dancing, or like music. Music is not allowed. Music will send you to hell. But then in other denominations, they spend their Sundays singing to praises to Jesus.
Yep.
So it's like, it's very difficult to know what's right and what's not. Because, and here's what it all boils down to. They aren't rules from God. They just aren't. They're rules that people made up to control their people groups. And the different people groups have different rules, and none of them matter.
Right.
I mean, so not none of them. Some of them matter to keep keep a society that is not chaotic, right? You can't just go around killing people. Most societies have laws about not killing each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there is reason to some of the laws, but I'm talking about like stupid ass church rules, like dumbass church rules. None of those matter. They just don't.
No, yeah, exactly. They don't.
So let's see. The word of I will judge you each according to your own ways. So he's going to judge us each individually, which I guess is better than the previous way where we were judged by the sins of our ancestors 4 generations back. Like that shit's not fair. He doesn't do that anymore. That's a new covenant, right?
Yeah. I think he's done it. I remember us covering it recently where he's like, I will no longer do this. And it's like, you shouldn't have done it in the first place, dipshit.
Yeah. So that's it for today.
Oh, okay, cool.
And next week.
What are we doing next week?
Next week, we're going to go into Daniel.
Oh, yes.
We are going to be talking Daniel. Ooh, you know what?
Damn, Daniel.
We should talk. We should talk to Jim about that.
Oh, yeah.
Have some input on Daniel.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. But next week we're gonna Shadrach, right? We're gonna meet Shadrach. We're gonna meet Medusa, and we're gonna meet the dingo that killed the baby.
You're doing me. Shaq, Medusa, the dingo baby.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so we're going to meet Daniel's 3 friends. Those are his friends.
And I'm sitting over here like, no, it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's who we're going to meet next week.
You know, I only know how to pronounce those names because of a Beastie Boys song. True story. Yeah.
I mean, they're really not that hard to pronounce. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Abednego always trips me up, though. And I always want to say Abednego. So that's why I don't know why that's like, that's how my brain just sees that. And that's what I think. So anyway, we're going to meet those three. There is going to be something gold erected.
Ooh.
And we know how upset that makes people.
An erect gold pole. Got it.
We're going to talk about a mandate that requires worship. We're going to talk about the relationship between the Hebrews and astrologers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about Nebuchadnezzar. Somebody's going to get burned to shit. Maybe three somebody. I mean, maybe next week we're going to get introduced to and see the ending of Shaq, Medusa, and the dingo that ate the baby.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right.
It's possible, though, that in the flames, they don't die.
Completely possible.
Because of God things.
Magic shit.
But I mean, maybe they do die. I don't know. We're going to talk about it next week. And if you haven't heard the story, we don't want to give you spoilers. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to go into Daniel and meet those three.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sounds awesome. So if you guys want to find out whether or not Shaq, Medusa, and the dingo that ate the baby are going to survive the flames of God, then I guess you'll have to tune in next time. But until then, if you will, please go down below and let us know what you thought about today's Bible study in the comments. We'd love to know what you guys think. And hey, while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like Bible studies like this.
And don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.